Hello and welcome to The Word Today. I am Ugochi. The headlines. The United States says it was concerned about reports that Russia is moving more military equipment into Syria to bolster President Bashar al-Assad with a truce in tatters and peace talks in meltdown. International relations analyst Sylvester Odion Akane joins us now to discuss this. Thanks for joining us. Now, the U.S. is very worried, and they're saying that this makes Putin not genuinely part of the UN-led initiative to end the war. What do you think?
Well, essentially, I think that the general concern being expressed about the Russian presence in Syria is misplaced, because both superpowers, the U.S. of course, and the Russians, are involved in the crisis. If you look at the beginning of the crisis, all the insurgents that eventually moved against al-Assad, of course, were sponsored by the West. Many of them were quartered in Turkey before they moved into Syria, and the crisis has gotten to a point, and of course, led to a consequence that they did not expect. Now they want a political solution. Of course, you cannot negotiate from a very weak position. And that is why Russia, that has been a traditional ally of al-Assad or Syria under al-Assad regime, decided to support militarily al-Assad. And so Russia, of course, is also disposed to a political solution. But the opposition, of course, don't want Assad, as part of the deal. So I think somehow there has to be a negotiated solution, because there's no other alternative.
You said the U.S. operating from a weak position. Can you help us understand what you mean by that?
I think that the United States has a moral burden. Just like we saw they did in Libya, of course, and elsewhere, what they did in Egypt, and that is also what is playing out in Syria. But of course, the game did not go their way. It didn't go their way, and much of the consequence has gone into Europe. And with Russian intervention, of course, it was impossible for the opposition to have a military, victory. And so that is what I mean. So if you prop up a crisis in the first place, then now you want a political solution. Of course, you have to be ready to pay the price, by making quite a lot of concession. And don't forget too that the U.S. is not totally disposed to the presence of Assad, because they have learned from what happened in Iraq that if Saddam was left, to stabilize, the state, they would have had less crisis or less job to do in Iraq. And so they are trying to avoid that when you remove al-Assad from the equation, there could be chaos also in Syria.
Okay, talking about the opposition, the Russian foreign minister said that the decision by the opposition to quit the talks is not a loss to anyone but to the HNC, that's the High Negotiating Committee.
Yeah, I think that the quitting the negotiation is part of the political game. They are trying to, of course, ensure that they don't have a zero-sum kind of outcome. But what I think they are doing is that they want to negotiate, stand their position. Probably Assad will bend, or Assad supporters such as Russia will bend, a little to their position. But I don't think that is going to be possible in the short term.
Okay, now with all the talks being on hold now, how do you think this would play out?
Well, it will not augur well for the civil populace in Syria, because when you have a breakdown in negotiations, all the belligerents will have to go back, to their position and start rearming. And for me, it is not good for the peace of Syria. It is not good for the people of Syria.
Okay, thank you very much, Sylvester Odion, for joining us on the broadcast. A leak that caused a deadly petrochemical plant blast has killed at least 13 people in Mexico City. 136 others are currently injured and nearly 20 others are missing. The blast occurred at a petrochemical plant, a joint venture between Pemex Petrochemical Unit and Mexican plastic pipe maker Mexichem. Desperate family members gathered outside a local hospital where many of the injured are being treated. Waiting in the heat and humidity of the region, some fainted as they waited for news on their loved ones. CEO of the company, Francisco Rivera, said he is awaiting news on his son, who was in the plant when the blast occurred. The explosion was the latest in a litany of safety disasters that have plagued the state oil giant, which is trying to stem the bleed of sliding output and slash costs as it creaks under the pressure of low crude prices. Chile's tobacco market is still engulfed in smoke after a massive fire tore through the market on Wednesday night. Several homes near the market were affected as firefighters battled to contain the inferno. Initial reports indicated the fire was started by a plumber who was working in one of the stores. The tourist hotspot market, which was first inaugurated in 1930, was immediately evacuated as the blaze spread. At least 400 firefighters and volunteers were called to extinguish the blaze. Many store owners who have been at the market for decades fear they will face ruin after their stands and supplies were engulfed in flames. No death has been recorded. As rescue operations continue at the quake site at Ecuador, locals say life has become harder for them after Wednesday's 6.2. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with Cambodian leaders on Friday during a two-day visit to the South Asian country aimed at strengthening bilateral ties. Wang first met his Cambodian counterpart, Prak Sokhonn, at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs building in the capital, Phnom Penh, sitting down for a meeting aimed at discussing bilateral ties, trade, and key regional and international issues. One of the topics on the table was territorial disputes in the South China Sea as regional tensions mount as China sets power in the waterway. Later in the day, Wang sat down for talks with Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen. Hello and welcome. This is TVC News. I am Ugochi Olivo. The top stories. Malian security forces apprehend suspects connected with deadly attacks. Burundi refugees in Tanzania dread going home due to continuation of conflict. And with 62% of votes, Chadian President Idris Deby wins fifth term in office. Thanks for joining us. A Mauritanian man suspected of planning and carrying out a string of deadly attacks on sites popular with foreigners in Mali last year has been arrested in Bamako. Although the arrest was made on Thursday, Malian security confirmed that on Friday. He is also suspected of planning the deadly assaults on the Radisson Blu Hotel in Bamako in November and the Baye Blanche Hotel in central Mali in August. The November 20 attacks on the Radisson Blu left 20 people dead, including 14 foreigners. Akim also claimed responsibility for the assault. The August attack on the Baye Blanche Hotel in Savary killed 4 foreign employees of the UN mission in Mali, MINUSMA. 2/3 of children who have not been immunized with basic vaccines live in countries that are either partially or entirely affected by conflict. But that's according to the latest report by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, which comes days before the World Immunization Week next week. Of countries in conflict, South Sudan has the highest percentage of unimmunized children, with 61% not receiving the most basic childhood vaccines, followed by Somalia at 58% and Syria at 57%. UNICEF says conflict-hit areas also see the killing of health workers and the destruction of medical facilities, supplies and equipment, of all which have a disastrous effect on children's health. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization, WHO, is calling on countries to reach more children missed by the routine delivery systems, especially those living in areas where less than 80% are receiving vaccines or living in countries affected by conflicts or emergencies. The body says overcrowding in refugee camps and lack of basic necessities like food, water and shelter make children even more vulnerable to diseases. Mother Earth Day is marked on April the 22nd every year. The day recognizes that the Earth and its ecosystems provide its inhabitants with life and sustenance. It also aims to raise awareness that humans have a collective responsibility to promote harmony with nature and to balance the economic, social and environmental needs of present and future generations.
Since the beginning of last year, there's been a massive outcry from the citizens of planet Earth that, hey, our Earth is being damaged by carbon pollution, which is causing climate change, which is causing aberrant weather patterns. And this demand, this outcry has reached the ears of the leadership. And the leaders are responding to the cry of the people. This is a very historic time in mankind's tenure on this planet. And the irony is that countries in Africa who were not responsible for the problem, our own carbon emissions are very, very minimal compared to the massive carbon emissions of Europe and America and China and so on. But unfortunately for us, because of where we are located geographically, low coastal areas, desert areas, we're actually going to suffer very tremendously the effects.
And as we celebrate International Mother Earth Day, the East African Whale Shark Trust is sensitizing the locals and fishermen who killed the whale shark on the importance of living in harmony with nature. TVC News Eastern Africa correspondent Mohammed Mahmoud went to swim with the sharks and came back with this report.
Kenya's shoreline remains one of the most beautiful places along the Indian Ocean. But beneath the waters lay a threatened marine life. In the calm waters, life is thriving, but the biggest creature on earth, the whale shark, is threatened. Local fishermen hunt the shark for its liver oil, locally referred to as sifa, to protect their wooden boats.
Since the fishermen have now run out of normal shark to get shark liver oil, shark liver oil prices have skyrocketed.
And we use it because the liver is long, it's bigger than the other normal shark. The normal shark doesn't have big liver. It's normally small ones. That's why we take the whale shark. The liver is big, so we can use it in our boat and we can keep it for the following years.
The fishermen use jarife, a locally made fishing net specifically designed to entangle sharks. They then cut off the shark fin and throw the rest of the body back in the water to die. A painful activity that leaves the whale shark among the most threatened creature on earth. Their meat, commonly referred to as tofu shark, is highly valued in the Asian markets. The East African Whale Shark Trust has been on the forefront to protect this magnificent creature. We set sail in the deep Indian Ocean waters to see the impact created by the locals killing the shark. The founder, Volker Bassen, says the killings have to change.
But you have to give the fishermen an alternative. So the way I see it could be done is to create a huge whale shark sanctuary.
This kind of ecotourism protects the species and helps the local economies. Top places where whale shark tourism is successful include West Australia, raking in $12 million annually, and the neighboring Eastern Africa islands of Seychelles, bringing in $4.9 million. To get the feel of this unique experience, we jumped into the water to swim with this gentle giant. Despite being a unique creature with the potential of earning Kenya tourism revenue, its protection has been a challenge. This venture is attracting tourists from different parts of the globe, quenching the thirst of swimming close to the biggest creature in the world.
The first time I jumped in and saw my first whale shark, it was just magical completely. It's a very beautiful creature.
Being a global creature that swims different oceans of the planet, the protection of the whale shark will not only increase its population size, but provide an opportunity for future generations to swim with this gentle giant. Mohammed Mahmoud, TVC News, in Tiwi, South Coast, Kenya.
Well, nature is always very beautiful. The Department of Petroleum Resources has sealed off a major filling station for alleged diversion of petrol in Adamawa and Taraba states. The Controller of Operations, Department of Petroleum Resources, in charge of Adamawa and Taraba states, Engineer Musa Akin Sunday, accused AA Salusi petrol stations of diverting more than 190,000 liters of petrol meant for the two states. Akin led journalists to one of the stations in Noman local government area of Adamawa, where the diverted products was intercepted. You're watching TVC News. We have more stories after this break. Stay with us. You're watching TVC News. Nigerian Defense Headquarters has warned youth in the northeastern part of the country to avoid accepting loans from the men of the Boko Haram. The Acting Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Rabi Abubakar, said in a statement on Wednesday that the Boko Haram has resorted to using loan as a bait to recruit fighters in the northeast. The lecturer, Dr. Musa Ali, joined us earlier, and he says the Nigerian government should look into alleviating poverty, especially in the northeast.
We know the military have succeeded largely in weakening Boko Haram significantly. If nothing is done, Boko Haram has a tactic of going underground, making people believe that they are gone, and then suddenly they come back fighting very hard. So one of the things that is likely to happen shortly is if nothing is done to counter this, they will come back fighting, and you see more bombings, you see more attacks, and you see more ferocious fighting against the military. It's for the government to start thinking of alleviating poverty in that part of the country. Otherwise, with the kind of poverty people are going through, I don't see any way anyone will run away from easy money, as it were.
According to a new report from Refugee International, the international community is failing to provide much needed support to the thousands of Nigerian women and girls who have managed to escape the terrorist group Boko Haram. For more on this, senior advocate for women and girls at Refugees International, Francisca Vigard-Wash, joined us earlier, and she had this to say.
There are thousands of women and girls beyond the Chibok girls that have been affected by Boko Haram. We are quite concerned that they're not getting the care they need related to their sexual and reproductive health. What we need to expect is for the international humanitarian community that is present and is scaling up in the Northeast to work with Nigerian authorities, namely the military. It would be wonderful news for women and girls that are being rescued if the military were to coordinate with the humanitarian community to set up a referral mechanism, such that as they bring newly liberated IDPs to Maiduguri or elsewhere, that they can immediately benefit from existing services by the humanitarian community.
Chadian President Idris Deby is not leaving office anytime soon, as he has been declared winner of the presidential elections, winning by more than 61% of votes. The country's electoral body made the announcement, and this means the 63-year-old president now has the legal mandate to extend his 26-year rule by a fifth term, which would run for the next 5 years. Voters were expected to choose between Deby and three other challengers, including opposition leader Saleh Kabzabo, who, according to the results, managed 12% of the votes. The opposition had earlier prepared for a second round of polls, claiming that there was no clear winner in the first round of polls. Despite this declaration, those who were imprisoned and now released say the struggle continues.
Since our arrest, the pressure comes from all over, and with the strike of trade unions, the country is paralyzed. And the pressure of organizations of human rights at national as well as international level, I believe that today the power is back to the wall, that those in power have their back to the wall, and facing this pressure, they have to liberate us. That doesn't surprise me. If Deby now tries to stifle the ardent hope of change, I believe the people of Chad will express their wishes by all means to accomplish this change. We will not accept force.
Our correspondent Doshimabu has been monitoring the political terrain in Chad. She joined us in the studio to discuss President Deby's victory.
What we saw, what happened on the election day, we saw a good representation from both sides, and then the turnout was okay. For the young voters, they wanted change. For older voters, they want continuity. So we can't say this isn't a reflection of the people's will, or it is, because that would be said by the body, which is the electoral body, and it has come out to say that Deby has won the election. Now, the opposition just had a press briefing just a few hours ago, and they've come out to say that they are not impressed with the announcement made by the electoral body, and that Deby didn't win the election. They want to contest the election, but they don't have the resources
To entertainment stories, the death of music icon Prince came as a shock to many. The crooner of Purple Rain, which brought him into limelight in 1984, was found dead in an elevator at his home. We take a look at how his fans across the world are paying tribute to him.
U.S. pop star Prince was found unresponsive at his Minnesota home and was later confirmed dead. The Carver County Sheriff's Office confirmed the death in a press release saying he was found unresponsive in an elevator and pronounced dead. The release also said that first responders attempted to provide life-saving CPR but were unable to revive him. The office said it was investigating the circumstances of his death. Prince, the innovative US music superstar, whose hits included Purple Rain and When Doves Cry, and whose songwriting and eccentric stage presence electrified fans around the world, died at Paisley Park Studios in Chanhassen, Minnesota.
In losing Prince, we lost not only one of the greatest songwriters, performers of the last 50 years, I would say more than anyone I can think of, he was the most deeply talented musician of this era, or possibly any era.
Celebrities took to Twitter to mourn his loss. "I miss my brother. Prince was a funny cat, great sense of humor," wrote film director Spike Lee. Singer Justin Timberlake tweeted, "Numb, stunned, this can't be real." Record producer Quincy Jones added, "RIP to Prince, a true artist in every sense of the word." Katy Perry tweeted, "And just like that, the world lost a lot of magic. Rest in peace, Prince. Thanks for giving us so much." Some fans swam to a record store in Los Angeles to buy up Prince merchandise following news of the singer's death. Amoeba Records, one of the city's largest and most popular record stores, was packed with Prince fans buying CDs, vinyl albums, and merchandise, and signing a memorial card for the singer. Other fans of the famous singer were paying tribute, dancing and singing in Chicago as New York filmmaker Spike Lee launched a dancing party named Prince We Love You Shokadalika Joint to celebrate Prince's life. Outside the First Avenue nightclub in downtown Minneapolis, devotees placed photographs of the musician, a guitar, and at least 24 bouquets of flowers, many of them purple. Prince, an intensely private person, won multiple Grammy Awards, a Golden Globe, and an Academy Award, and was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004. He first found fame in the late 1970s, and over the next 3 decades became known as one of the most inventive and eccentric forces in American pop music. He sold over 100 million records worldwide, making him one of the best-selling artists of all time. Rolling Stone ranked Prince at number 27 on its list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. Harry Itie, TVC News.
Sad one there. On Earth Day, it should be also noted that Prince was a vegetarian. He stopped eating meat and anything with eyes from the 90s. Well, with that, it's a wrap on the news of this hour. For more details, visit our website, tvcnews.tv, and also join the conversation on our social media platforms using a TVC Connect. Thanks for watching. I am Ugochi Olivo.